Have you ever thought, how do some people make growing a business look so easy? Meanwhile, you also think that you should be farther along by now, making more money in your business by now because you're smart, you're highly intellectual, you've overcome some really hard challenges, and you've had some great achievements. So, what is it about business that makes things feel difficult? In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways for you to shift all that. But I first want you to understand that you have been expecting linear success and linear growth in your business. And that all comes from school system thinking. In school, there's a period of learning and then there's a period of earning. And those periods are very distinct. I got my doctorate in physical therapy. It was 4 years undergrad degree, 3 year graduate degree. I knew after 7 years, I was going to be able to take my boards and then go get a job. There was a distinct period of earning after a distinct period of learning. In business, however, there's never ending learning. We are consistently developing, we are consistently learning. And we don't actually know how much we need to learn before we start to earn. But the misconception is that what you're learning is only business. The thing that most people tend to overlook is that you actually have to learn yourself. And probably for the first time ever, you're having to really discover parts of yourself that have never been explored before. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. This is all about how well you understand your ability to handle responsibility, overcome things that push up against your identity, who you thought you were. Right now, you have transferred your confidence and competence from your career onto your business. And the arenas are different. This reminds me of when Michael Jordan left basketball and went to go play golf. He's still an athlete. He's still someone with a great mindset, a winning mindset. But it's completely different skills to play golf. First, you've got a basketball, then you got a golf ball. You have a big net, and then you have a little hole. He's still an athlete. He still knows how to have that winning mindset, but he still needed to develop different skill sets because he's in a new arena. He's in a new game. So you can't take your career-driven self and put it into business. It will help you, but it is not the thing that is going to give you the success. That is not the catalyst. So very likely you are in a position right now where you are learning about yourself for the first time in these various ways. The thing about having a job is that you don't have to feel the most confident. You don't have to feel deserving. You don't have to feel like you're even good at what you do because you're going to get paid every week or every 2 weeks regardless. You can do a not so good job. You can do an amazing job and you're still going to get paid. You don't even have to fully believe in yourself in order to get paid. But when it comes to business, we actually in part get paid for how much we believe in ourselves. Yes, you want to have a good skill set and you want to be able to service people, but we actually get paid for how much we believe in ourselves. And I think this is a really difficult conversation that not many people are having because we're so used to intellectualizing business. Because you've spent so much time in the school system, in society, kind of hustling and bustling, you'd entered this entrepreneurial world and you're attempting to intellectualize everything, which means that you are not allowing yourself to experience the things that you need to experience. And this is a really key distinction when it comes to having success in business. It is about an experience. It is not just about how much you know. This is why you see a lot of people, you look at them and you're like, I know more than them. I'm smarter than them. We've had a conversation and you're thinking to yourself, you know more things that they don't know. They're oohing and awing at everything you say, but yet they're making more money. That is because they are in the experience of it as opposed to intellectualizing it. And so this is a really key distinction. So if you're feeling like business is really challenging you right now, then I ask you, how much are you in the experience of it? And I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can really shift this. So one of the things I really see happening is when you have really understood the ins and outs and the structure of your business. You've learned it all, but you still aren't implementing to the rate of your learning. And one of those things that will hold a lot of people back is the emotional component of your belief system and how you view yourself. So you intellectually know you can help people, but yet you're emotionally tied to the fact that you don't think people will still choose you or people will pay you. Or maybe you have raised your prices and now you're like, I don't know if people will pay me higher prices because you're so used to being a commodity and charging lower prices. Maybe you've crafted your offers. You've even sold some of your offers and courses, whatever it is you sell. You've sold some of those, but yet you're not really claiming your voice online. You're still not speaking very boldly when it comes to how you really service people. You're not open in sharing your ideas and your concepts. You are still holding back. And so, even though you're taking the action, there is so much timidness that's actually going on. And so your outer effort has actually outpaced your inner world, your inner ability to see yourself, your belief system. Your outer world is pacing at a much faster rate. And so you are learning, learning, learning. You're taking some of the actions, but yet your inner world is still holding a belief system that you don't think people will pay you higher prices. You think that you have to have it all figured out or you need to understand every single step before you're able to make the next step. And so I tend to see people hiding and they're taking the action, but yet they're still hoping not to be seen. It's like walking into a crowded space and there's a bunch of people around and you are charging in, but yet you're like, I hope no one sees me. It's like putting out your content, yet feeling like nobody's going to buy. So secretly, you're actually hoping that no one buys because that's the inherent belief system that you are running. And very likely, like I said, this is the first time that many people are kind of coming up against, well, what is that inner dialogue? What is it you tell yourself? How much fear are you allowing to consume you? Which this is actually proof that it is not the strategy, but it's the state of your beingness that actually determines business. And this is why I talk so much about really being embodied, because you have to be an embodiment, which is a demonstration of your beliefs and values to the level in which you desire to have success. Because we're all an embodiment of something. So, what are you an embodiment currently of? Are you an embodiment of self doubt and feeling like an imposter? Or are you an embodiment of somebody who knows that they're here for a purpose and that God has put a calling on your life? I've been reading the parables quite a bit recently and really saturating my mind and my heart with what's in the word. And Matthew 13 is the parable of the sower. It actually says that Jesus came out to the lake and that people gathered around, a large crowd gathered around him. And it's so interesting because it didn't say he went to go look for people to talk to. He actually just stood there and people came to him because it was the state of his beingness. It wasn't some strategy that he needed to go out and try to get people to come. It was the state of his beingness that allowed people to gather. Then it said he went into a boat and those people stood along the shore. And that's when he told the parable of the sower, which is a farmer was going out to sow his seeds and he threw his seeds and the seeds scattered. Some scattered onto the path and then the birds came and ate it up. Some of the seeds actually scattered onto rocky soil, rocky ground, and those actually planted. But then it said when the sun came out, the plants were scorched, like burned up, scorched, because it did not have root. So the leaves withered because it did not have enough root because it was on rocky ground. Some landed on thorns, and then the thorns choked the plants, and then some landed on good soil. And that's when I realized we are the soil. When you are creating content to market your business, we are the soil. We are the soil in which our message comes from. And so if we're not cultivating ourselves as the soil, That means that when we birth the message, which is the seed, are we actually birthing a message that comes from good soil? What is our soil currently filled with? Are you filled with the doubt? Are you filled with the fear? Are you filled with feeling like an imposter? Are you filled with worry? Are you still hiding? Or are you boldly going for it? So this actually leads me to the first step, which is identify what your soil is, what's in your soil. Because if you're filled with all of the not so good things, then the content that you are creating is actually a reflection of what's in your soil. It's a reflection of fear, a reflection of doubt. Even though you're showing up and putting all of your ideas out there, there's still that part of you that doesn't want to be seen. That part of you is still hiding because you have intellectualized your ability to now take action. And so we have to be able to tend to the soil. So our soul is our belief system. Then we have the mind, which is where our message comes from. And then we also have our body, which is the actual structure in which we are delivering that message. And so when you take a look at what right now is filling you most, if you are filled with more fear and doubt and anxiety and worry, and I can't do this and I'm not deserving and who am I, if you're filled with all of that, then there is no room for God to actually put in your heart how he sees you. Because if he's able to put in your heart how he sees you, that means now you're seeing yourself the way that God sees you. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, the plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans for an expected end. That has to be filling your heart, not the fear, not the doubt, not the anything, because out of the mouth or out of the heart, the abundant, blah, what is it? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. There it is. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So that means that whatever is in our soil is what we are speaking. If you are attracting clients into your business that can't afford it, can't do the work or aren't doing the work, defaulting on payments, if you're having a lot of issues with that, then it's a reflection of what's in your soil. Because people can only see you the way you see you. But if you see you the way the world sees you, instead of seeing you the way God sees you, then what you're attracting in your life is a reflection of that, whatever it is you see. We have to be so mindful of what's occupying the space in our mind and occupying the space in our heart, which is what is cultivating our soil. So that's step one, which is identify what's in your soil. And then step two is sitting with discomfort. Discomfort is literally the weight that we need in order to grow. It's the weight that waters our soil. We do not grow without resistance. We cannot grow our bicep without adding some weight to it. And here's what's interesting. If you did a bicep curl like this and you never put any weight on it, you don't actually stay the same. You decline. You do not stay the same, you decline. A mentor of mine once said, there is no going backwards, or there is no standing still. There is only going backwards if you are not intentional about where you are going. I've got so many quotes in my head right now. But it's so important that you start to understand how intentional are you being with sitting in discomfort. One of the things that most humans hate is discomfort. We will run from pain. I found this so fascinating when I was really taking myself through this process and I realized how much I did not like discomfort. I started to look at other areas of my life where I was not sitting in discomfort. And I used to always think I like to take really long showers. The truth of the matter is, I actually did not like turning the water off and having to open the curtain and feel the cold. I was prolonging the shower. I was prolonging comfort in order to avoid discomfort. Eventually, I'm going to have to get out of the shower. I got to get my day going, right? But I'm prolonging my comfort to avoid discomfort. But at some point, we're going to get to the point where we have no choice. Our back is against the wall, and you're going to have to decide to step into it. So you're either forced into it, thrown into it, or you get to choose that you are going to choose the actual discomfort. If you don't do that and you get forced into discomfort, it doesn't actually mean that your character has developed. I've done a lot in my life and business where I've created from really like strong moments of pain, whether it's been after a breakup, after some kind of situation, I was able to create from pain. But one of the things I realized is those were not always the moments that my character was developed. It created immense amount of focus in my life for me to create change, but because it was forced upon me, that level of discomfort was forced upon me. When we get to decide that we're going to step into discomfort, that's a much different ballgame. That's actually deciding that you're going to pick up the weight. It's almost like losing weight by default. If you get really sick and you don't eat for a couple days, or something happens and you don't eat, you end up losing weight. Well, you lost weight, but by default, and it's also not the healthiest way to lose weight, nor did you even gain the character development to maintain weight loss. So very likely you're going to continue to still put the weight back on. When we are changing, or I should say, when we create new results without changing our character, it's because it was forced upon us. We got our back against the wall to make change. The character in us hasn't been developed. And this was something that I really had to learn when I got to a space of things really working and going for me in my life. I was like, oh, I don't have any pain. I don't have anything to create from. And so many people end up finding pain and chaos to create from, but they never took the time to develop their character because they didn't know they need to, because they didn't realize that's what's in their soil. This is why it's so important to understand what's in your soil. What are you consistently perpetuating over time? Because if you don't understand what that is, then you're just tilling your soil with the same thing over and over and over again, producing the exact same results, producing the kind of content that doesn't truly reflect how it is you desire to show up in the marketplace. And so you got forced into change, but it was like fake change. It's false change. Even though you created the result, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to sustain that result. So if you are feeling, when you go into focus and you're starting to get uncomfortable and your body's getting all fidgety, that is the moment to actually let yourself realize and be so aware that this is the discomfort that's needed. That's the resistance that's needed in order to create the change. And then number 3 is you want to create a framework for your knowledge and a structure in your business. People who generally think things are difficult often lack structure. And they lack structure in the way that they think, and they lack structure in the way that they market their business, and they even lack structure in how their business is set up. Because the purpose of a system, the purpose of a framework is actually to make things easy. So if your business is running on a system and the way that you think and produce your content is running on a framework, then it makes it so much easier for you to show up. So if you're feeling challenged by your business, you're feeling challenged by the content that you're putting out, that is usually an indicator that you lack a framework in your thinking and you lack the system in your business to convert your leads, or I should say to bring in leads and then convert those leads. You want to realize that the chaos that's kind of happening in your brain is leading to the difficulty. Even though you're somebody who has a lot of content ideas and you're just always having a new thought process, a new concept, a new something. Even though you're somebody that has all of that, it's still not structured. Your ideas are kind of floating around in your head, directionless. And you're in a position right now wondering, well, why is it so difficult? Well, you are resisting discomfort. You are resisting the structure in your content, the structure of your thinking, the structure in your business, the actual system that you are using. You are resistant to the discomfort. You are literally holding yourself like this, and you're making an effort, but the effort you're actually making is you are efforting towards resisting. You are trying really, really hard, But what you are actually doing is trying really, really hard in your resistance because you're not leaning into the discomfort. You're not actually going forward and accepting the weight of discomfort, and then knowing that once you are able to push that discomfort, or I should say, you're not trying to push that discomfort away, you're actually resting in that discomfort. It is so essential that you allow your body to be able to sit in some of that. And when you sit in some of that, you gain resilience. You gain a level of inner stamina. Your inner world starts to expand to catch up to your outer world. But right now, you are somebody who has so much effort in your outer world. You're learning everything, you're taking action, but it's all like over the place. It's like taking action here, 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 but there's no structure to it. And that's all because there's this resistance. So I want you to start asking yourself some really hard questions here and realizing that when you have the good soil, it's because you're really grounded in who you are. You're grounded in knowing that you don't need anybody else's validation. You're not putting content out there for people to like it and tell you how great you are. You are actually putting content out for people because you understand the value that you bring to the marketplace, and you understand your ability to truly help someone get a result. And when you understand that, then you're okay if no one buys. You're okay if people say what they want to say. None of that actually matters because you are here to please God and serve people. But if you actually need the validation of someone liking it, someone making a comment, giving you an engagement, or making the sale, then that means that you are allowing the validation of other people to control you, to rule you. And that means that there's a void inside. There's something in you that's still seeking for that validation. The only thing that can actually fill that is literally the love of Jesus. It's literally allowing the word to saturate your heart so you start seeing yourself the way he sees you. You start operating the way he wants you to operate, which is always out of high integrity, high character, high amounts of discipline. And when we start to operate from that place, it doesn't matter if people don't buy because they aren't the provider. God is the provider anyways. So we can't look to mend and bend ourselves hoping that people pay. That's not how this works. You have to have the good soil that then is able to reflect into the marketplace, that you see your audience, you hear them, you understand them, and you are guiding them towards a decision. But if they decide not to buy or not to buy yet, it's okay. It is okay. Because if you're forcing people into your offers, those are usually the ones that either give you a headache, there's got some kind of problems going on with them, but it ends up not being the best thing for either party. And then they don't get the result. And that's your reputation on the line if you are bringing people, or I should say, forcing people into your offer and they're not getting the result because you needed the money so bad. That's not how this game works. You want to make sure that you are feeling wholehearted when you come to the marketplace. You're not looking for the marketplace to fill your cup. If that's what you're looking for, then you've made the marketplace an idol. You've made the marketplace an idol in your heart. And that is taking up the space, and it's not allowing the money to flow in the way that God wants to provide for you. So if you are somebody right now that is thinking to yourself, I have got to get some structure in my business, some structure in my content, I want you to drop the word legacy down in the comments. My content legacy program is open. It is my long-term mentorship where we actually create your content system, but we also tend to your soil, which is you. There's deep levels of embodiment where you cultivate the message that you're bringing into the marketplace, because you are not creating content for a moment. You are creating content for a movement. Share this with a business bestie. Drop the word legacy in the comments if you're wanting details on this program, and I will see you all in another video. Bye.